Hi, I'm Ruth Krishnan with the Krishnan team, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about seasonality. That's a question I get asked a lot, is when is the right time to sell a property? So in San Francisco, there is most certainly seasonality. There are times when more properties are selling than others, and a lot of this is dictated actually by people's vacation schedules. So what we see is in springtime, which for us actually starts around the end of January, actually depending on the price of the property. We see a little later start to higher priced properties. Over 5 million is more like March, but it could be earlier. So what happens is that oftentimes there's some really pimped up demand that comes from the previous season, which is winter. So in San Francisco, oftentimes sellers choose to stop putting their properties on the market sometime around Thanksgiving, oftentimes as early as early November. And then what happens is actually the buyers, there's plenty of buyers still there. There's new buyers still entering the market, and the buyers start to get really discouraged. There's new buyers coming in, making New Year's resolutions. And a lot of times when we start to get to the end of January, there's this whole crop of buyers, and there's really some pimped up demand that happens. And as properties start trickling on very slowly in the early months of January and February, then there oftentimes starts being overbids. It's not unusual for this to come off the heels of quite a different market in the fall, but we'll get into that in a minute. So the overbids start, and the season for spring usually is, depending on the property type, somewhere between like February and the end of May. And then come June, July, and August, what you'll find is that there's a lot of people going on vacations. It's not unusual for people in San Francisco to summer outside of San Francisco, oftentimes for long periods of time. There's a lot of international vacations that are happening, so they could be gone 2-3 weeks, and they're probably taking off buying the week before and the week after. So you could have a whole section of buyers not available or not around to buy for as long as 3 to 5 weeks. And when that happens, we see that demand goes down a bit. And then sellers, actually in anticipation of this, oftentimes decide not to list their properties until September. So then when you come into September, which is our fall, oftentimes what you see is this onslaught of a massive amount of inventory that starts September and October. Those are going to be the highest inventory months of the year. And you're going to see what I see every fall is that buyers freak out a little bit. Oftentimes, the buyers who have been around and looking, there hasn't been a lot of stuff. And there's two things that they start thinking. One is there's a paradox of choice that happens where they start thinking, oh my gosh, well, I like this house, but maybe there's going to be more houses that I like next week. And so I think I want to wait and see what else is coming. The other thing that they start talking about, and this is, believe it or not a COVID conversation, but they've been talking about this for the last 11 years, is, oh my gosh, all these properties are on. What's wrong is everyone leaving San Francisco. And so that just creates this time where buyers just kind of pause, and a lot of them don't buy in the fall, which is why, as I started the conversation, you end up with this kind of massive amount of buyers that gets added to a new amount of buyers that are then really, really ready and oftentimes regret not having bought in the fall. And then they're really, really ready and quite motivated to buy in the springtime. So if you have a question about when to buy or sell, feel free to reach out to me for a more nuanced conversation. I'd be happy to chat with you about your specific needs.